Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm your brother Uthman al-Talib with your daily Dhul Hijjah reminders about Ibrahim alayhi salam. Today we're going to talk about the story that's the cornerstone story for Hajj, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had shown Ibrahim a dream that he needs to sacrifice his son Ismail. And as kind of just the backstory, Ibrahim didn't have children until he was really old, and it was one of his greatest, joys to actually have a child. And, as the theme of Ibrahim's life goes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time he gives him something, in order to make sure that Allah is the only one in his heart, he always takes that thing away from him to bring him closer. And so when he was, given his son Ismail, as he reached an age of strength, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him a dream that he needs to sacrifice him. And so we see in Surah As-Saffat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. So he said that he went to his son when he reached an age of strength, and he told him that I have seen consistently in my dreams that I need to sacrifice you. So what do you think about that? And so this is really a story of the two, father and son, and the relationship that they had, where he consulted his son even when he believed he was receiving divine revelation. And his son then also, in response to that, he said, Ya abati if'al ma tu'mar, satajiduni inshallah min as-sabirin. He said, my father, do as you have been commanded, and you will find me one who is patient. And so you see now the two of them are based on, the relationship that Ibrahim had with his own father, where he rejected him and told him he was going to stone him and, basically disowned him. You see the strength of the relationship between both the father and the son here, where they both submit themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَ, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after that, he says, when both of them submitted themselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then sent a ram to be sacrificed, and not Ismail. And so this is really the lesson for today. And really the lesson for the importance of Hajj in general is that Allah only expects us to make the effort of sacrificing, the intention for sacrificing. Many times it is just that experience of deciding with complete conviction and certainty that you're going to sacrifice something for the sake of Allah, that is the only thing that Allah needs from you. You may not even need to do the action itself, but rather the submission within the heart is what Allah is looking for, because that's the connection to Him. That's the piece of relinquishing something from this world for the sake of Allah that He looks for us to do. And this is really demonstrated from this story. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He saw Ibrahim and Ismail, both of them come together in unity for what was commanded, it then brought them closer to each other as a relationship for father and son, as we will go through in the next session. But also the relationship with their Lord, with their Creator, was strengthened. And that bond now becomes something that brings them together consistently. And it also reinstates the belief of knowing that in their heart is only Allah. There is nothing else that can, take them away from that relationship or stop them from coming closer to their Creator. So for us, what can we take from this in our normal lives is that when we find that there is something that's holding us back, and all of us have it, every single one of us has something that holds us back from taking that next step, to come closer to Allah, taking that next stage in our spiritual journey towards Allah, that we have to evaluate ourselves and understand what that is. In this case, there was divine guidance that drove that. But for us, we have to sometimes evaluate ourselves. We have to take on the responsibility of asking ourselves the tough questions to say, what is it that's hindering me from going to the next stage of my spiritual journey towards Allah? And then identify what that habit is, what that material thing is, identify what that piece of your life that you feel is stopping you from coming closer, and say, how do I sacrifice this to make sure that Allah is the only one in my heart? And that everything that I do, I'm doing it for His sake, and that it's a means for me to come closer to Allah. This entire world, our entire existence, is a means for us to come closer to Allah. It's not an end. The moment that we believe that this world is an end, right, and that the success of this world is all that we're driving towards, or wealth in this world is all we're driving towards, or certain prestige and name and fame and all of these things is the goal, we then lose ourselves, right? Nasullah fa'ansahum anfusahum. We forget that Allah is actually the goal, and He is the true end, and everything in this world is a means for us to come closer to Him, to find a path towards Him, and to bring people who are around us on that same journey to reach Him in a state. And this is what Allah says about the heart of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On the day of judgment, there's nothing that will help us from the decree of God except a person who comes with a sound state of heart, a clean state of heart. And so that takes a lot of sacrifice during this life, to purify ourselves from anything that may keep us down, and not reach our true spiritual potential. And so that is the lesson from today's story about Ibrahim and Ismail. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes our ability to identify what we need to sacrifice very clear to us, because that's most of the battle. And then once we make that decision, we ask that Allah allows us to be ones who are ones that submit to Him and to His will, and to be ones that are accepted from our submission, and to allow us to be ones who reach Him with a sound state of heart, and a sound state of being. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.